If you have ever walked on eggshells in your own home, constantly monitoring your tone, your facial expressions, and your words just to avoid setting off an explosion, you know a specific kind of exhaustion. It is not the tiredness that comes from hard work or physical labor. It is a deep, cellular fatigue that settles into your bones because you are perpetually holding your breath. You are waiting for the other shoe to drop. You are waiting for the mood to shift. You are waiting for the person who claims to love you to suddenly turn cold, critical, or cruel without any clear reason why. For years, you may have believed that if you just tried harder, explained yourself better, or loved them more deeply, things would stabilize. You thought the chaos was a result of miscommunication or stress. But now, looking back, you realize that no matter how perfect your behavior was, it was never enough. The goalposts always moved, the criticism never stopped, and the confusion never lifted. It is important to say this clearly right now. You were not the problem. The instability you experienced was not a reflection of your inadequacy. It was a feature of the dynamic you were trapped in. In relationships with individuals who possess strong narcissistic traits, the primary objective is not connection, intimacy, or mutual growth. The primary objective is control. And control is maintained through confusion. When you are confused, you are easier to manage. When you are questioning your own reality, you are less likely to challenge the narrative being imposed on you. This is why you felt so drained. You were using all your mental energy trying to solve a puzzle that was designed to have no solution. You were trying to use logic and empathy to reach someone who is operating from a place of fear and defensiveness. Today, we are going to talk about a shift in power. We are going to talk about the moment when the dynamic changes, not because you fought back, not because you argued louder, and not because you tried to expose them. The shift happens when you stop playing the game entirely. There is a specific psychological stance, often summarized in a single conceptual sentence, that dismantles the narcissist's control mechanism. It is not a threat. It is not an insult. It is a statement of boundary and reality that signals to them, implicitly and explicitly, that you are no longer available to be their source of emotional regulation. This sentence, or rather this mindset, makes them fear you because it represents the one thing they cannot tolerate: your indifference to their approval. To understand why this is so powerful, we first need to understand what drives the narcissistic behavior. At the core of narcissism is a profound, fragile sense of self. Unlike healthy self-esteem, which is internal and stable, narcissistic self-worth is external and volatile. It depends entirely on what is called narcissistic supply. This supply comes in many forms: admiration, attention, fear, anger, or even your distress. As long as you are reacting to them, you are feeding them. If you are crying, begging, arguing, or trying to explain your feelings, you are giving them supply. You are proving that they matter. You are proving that they have an impact on your emotional state. To a narcissist, impact equals existence. If they can make you feel something, they feel real. If they can control your mood, they feel powerful. This is why silence and detachment are so terrifying to them. When you stop reacting, you cut off the supply. But it goes deeper than that. When you establish a boundary that is calm, firm, and unemotional, you are signaling that you see them clearly. Narcissists rely on a mask. They project an image of superiority, victimhood, or charm to hide their inner emptiness. They need you to believe in that mask. They need you to buy into the fantasy they have created. When you stop engaging with the fantasy and start responding only to reality, the mask begins to slip. They realize that you are no longer captivated by their performance. You are no longer impressed by their grandiosity, and you are no longer devastated by their devaluation. You are simply observing. Let's break down what this looks like in practice. Imagine a scenario where they try to provoke you. In the past, they might have said something subtly insulting, perhaps criticizing your appearance, your intelligence, or your choices. Your old reaction might have been to defend yourself. You might have said, "That's not true. I did this because," or, "Why are you being so mean?" This defense is exactly what they want. It draws you into a debate. It forces you to justify your existence to them. It keeps the focus on their opinion of you. Now, consider the new approach. You look at them calmly. You do not raise your voice. You do not show anger. You do not show hurt. You simply say, "I hear that you are upset, but I'm not going to discuss this further." Or even simpler, "I disagree." And then you disengage. This response is devastating to their control structure because it denies them the emotional reaction they crave. It also establishes a boundary that they cannot cross without escalating to obvious abuse, which often exposes them to others or breaks their own rules of engagement. They fear this because it reveals their impotence. Without your emotional participation, their manipulation tactics are just empty gestures. A puppet master without a puppet is just a person standing alone in a room holding strings. That is the image they fear. They fear being seen as ordinary, ineffective, and irrelevant. The psychology behind this fear is rooted in shame. Narcissists carry a deep, unconscious shame about their true selves. They spend their lives running from this shame by projecting it onto others. They make you feel small so they can feel big. They make you feel crazy so they can feel sane. When you refuse to accept the projection, when you refuse to take the bait, the shame has nowhere to go. It bounces back to them. This is known as a narcissistic injury. It is a wound to their ego that feels life-threatening to them. They do not have the emotional tools to process shame healthily, so when they encounter someone who is immune to their manipulation, they do not feel respect. They feel panic. They feel a loss of control that triggers their deepest insecurities. This is why the phrase or mindset of, "I am no longer available for this dynamic," is so potent. It is not about saying those exact words in a dramatic confrontation. It is about embodying the truth behind them. It means you are no longer available to be their scapegoat. You are no longer available to soothe their ego. You are no longer available to validate their distorted reality. When you live this truth, you become unpredictable to them. In the past, they could predict your reactions. They knew that if they pushed button A, you would cry. If they pushed button B, you would argue. They had a map of your emotions. But when you detach, the map becomes useless. They no longer know how to reach you, and for a control freak, the unknown is the ultimate threat. It is crucial to understand that this fear does not mean they will suddenly become a good person. It does not mean they will apologize or change. In fact, their initial reaction to your detachment is often an escalation. This is called an extinction burst. Just like a child who throws a louder tantrum when their usual crying doesn't get them candy, a narcissist will often increase their manipulative behaviors when they sense they are losing control. They may become more aggressive, more victimized, or more charming. They may try to hoover you back in with promises of change, or they may smear your reputation to others. This escalation is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that your boundary is working. It is the sound of their control slipping away. During this phase, your commitment to calm detachment is tested. You must remember that their escalation is a tactic, not a genuine emotional expression. They are trying to provoke a reaction to regain the upper hand. If you react with anger, they win. If you react with sadness, they win. If you try to explain yourself, they win. The only way to maintain your power is to remain consistent. You must be like a rock in the ocean. The waves may crash against you, loud and violent, but the rock does not move. It does not argue with the water. It does not try to stop the waves. It simply remains solid. Over time, the waves lose their force. The narcissist realizes that their efforts are futile. This is when the true fear sets in. They realize that you have moved beyond their reach. This process requires a significant shift in your own psychology. You must let go of the need to be understood by them. This is often the hardest part for empathetic people. You want them to see your pain. You want them to acknowledge the hurt they have caused. You want closure. But you must accept that they are incapable of giving you that closure. Their inability to empathize is not a choice they are making in the moment. It is a structural limitation of their personality. Waiting for them to understand you is like waiting for a colorblind person to describe the hue of a sunset. They literally cannot see it. By letting go of the need for their validation, you free yourself. You stop handing them the keys to your emotional well-being. As you step into this space of detachment, you will begin to notice changes in your own life. The fog will lift. You will start to trust your own perceptions again. You will remember who you were before the relationship consumed you. You will rediscover your interests, your values, and your voice. This is the healing process. It is not linear. There will be days when you feel strong and days when you feel vulnerable, but each day that you choose not to engage in the old dynamic, you strengthen your neural pathways for independence. You are rewiring your brain to value peace over drama and truth over illusion. It is also important to address the guilt that may arise. You may feel that you are being cold or cruel by withdrawing your emotional energy. You may worry that you are abandoning them, but you are not abandoning them. You are abandoning the dysfunction. You are refusing to participate in a system that harms both of you. Healthy love does not require self-sacrifice. Healthy love does not require walking on eggshells. By setting boundaries, you are actually modeling what healthy interaction looks like. If they are capable of growth, this may eventually lead them to seek help. But that is their journey, not yours. Your responsibility is to protect your own mental health. The fear they feel is not a malicious fear. It is the fear of irrelevance. For someone who builds their identity on being the center of attention, becoming irrelevant is a form of psychological death. When you stop feeding their ego, you are essentially telling them that they are not the main character in your story anymore. You are the main character, and that is a truth they cannot manipulate. They can twist facts, they can lie, they can gaslight, but they cannot force you to care. They cannot force you to react. Your indifference is the ultimate mirror. It reflects their emptiness back to them, and they hate what they see. As you continue on this path, you will find that your relationships with others improve. You will have more energy for friends and family who truly care about you. You will be more present in your work and your hobbies. You will sleep better. The constant background anxiety that hummed in your nervous system will begin to quiet down. You will realize that peace is not boring. Peace is spacious. It allows you to breathe. It allows you to think. It allows you to feel joy without the anticipation of punishment. In the end, the goal is not to make them fear you. The goal is to free yourself. The fear they experience is merely a byproduct of your liberation. Do not focus on their reaction. Focus on your own stability. Keep your boundaries clear. Keep your communication brief and factual. Keep your emotional energy directed inward, toward your own healing. You are rebuilding a life that belongs to you, not one that revolves around managing someone else's instability. You have survived the confusion. You have survived the manipulation. You have survived the erosion of your self-esteem. Now you are stepping into clarity. You are seeing the situation for what it is. You are recognizing that you were never the problem. You were just the target. And now you are stepping out of the line of fire. This is not an act of revenge. It is an act of self-respect. It is the declaration that your peace is non-negotiable. Hold on to that truth. Let it anchor you when the winds of their manipulation try to blow you off course. You do not need to shout it. You do not need to prove it. You just need to live it. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you are speaking that sentence. Every time you choose detachment over engagement, you are reinforcing that boundary. And with every choice, you become stronger, clearer, and more free. The fear they feel is their burden to carry. Your freedom is your gift to yourself. Walk forward into that freedom. Leave the past where it belongs. Your future is waiting, and it is bright, stable, and entirely yours.